My name's Daniel. I live in a small rental home in New Hampshire, just outside a quiet town surrounded by trees and long country roads. I moved here last year for work. I do tech support remotely, and I liked the peace and quiet. The house directly across the street was always empty, or at least it looked that way. The windows were dark, the lawn overgrown, and the mailbox leaned at a weird angle like no one had checked it in years. Then one night, around 2:30 a.m., I couldn't sleep and went to the kitchen for some water. As I passed my living room window, I saw something that made me stop cold. A man was standing in the window of the house across the street. He wasn't moving, just standing perfectly still in the center of the window, staring out at my direction. I thought maybe he was looking at the street, or maybe it was a trick of the light. But what really threw me off was what he was wearing, a bright red fedora-style hat. It stood out against the darkness like a warning sign. After maybe 30 seconds of staring, I closed the blinds and tried to sleep it off. Told myself it was probably a new tenant or someone checking the place. But the next morning, I walked over there. No signs of life. The grass was knee-high, windows dusty, and when I peeked through the front glass, there was no furniture, no lights, nothing. That night, I stayed up to watch. And like clockwork, at 2:30 a.m., the man in the red hat appeared again. Same position, same posture, staring straight at my window. I started asking around, at the gas station, the local diner, the post office. No one wanted to talk about the house across the street. Eventually, one of the older guys at the diner, a retired fireman named Bill, pulled me aside. "You seen him too?" he asked. "Red hat, dead eyes?" I nodded. He leaned in and whispered, "That house belonged to a man named Grady Marsh. Lived alone. Died in that front room in 1998. No one found him for 2 weeks. By then, the birds had gotten to him. He told me the house sat empty ever since. Every time the county tried to sell it, buyers backed out. Neighbors reported strange sounds, lights turning on, and always, the man in the red hat. I asked if anyone had ever stayed there overnight. Bill just shook his head. Nobody lasts, and those who try don't come back the same. I laughed nervously, but he didn't. "Whatever's in there," he said, "ain't right." That night I kept every light on, but still watched. 2:30 a.m. There he was again. Only this time, he was closer to the window than usual, almost pressed against the glass. And I swear to God, he tilted his head like he knew I was watching back. That night, I dreamed of footsteps in my living room. When I woke up, there were wet footprints leading from my front door to the window. I bought cameras, put one facing the street, one inside my living room. The next night, I waited again. I sat in the dark with just the glow of the camera screen. 2:29, 2:30. He appeared again, but this time, he turned his head and looked directly into my camera. Like he knew, like he could see through the lens. I jumped out of my chair when the power cut out. House went dark, screen dead. And then I heard it, a knock at my front door. Not a soft knock, not someone asking for help. 3 hard, deliberate bangs. I stayed frozen, didn't breathe. After a full minute, I heard something slide under the door. When I finally worked up the nerve to check, it was an old photo, a grainy picture of a man standing in a window. Red hat, dead stare. On the back in shaky handwriting, "Next time, don't look back." That was 2 weeks ago. I moved into a motel 2 towns over. I haven't gone back. But every night since, I wake up at exactly 2:30 a.m., and every morning I find something red left outside my door. A glove, a ribbon. Last night it was a small red fedora, and this morning, taped to my mirror, a note. The window isn't across the street anymore. My name is Alex, and I'm a 22-year-old college student living in a small town in Oregon. To support myself, I recently took a night shift job at a local gas station. It was quiet, easy money, and I could study during the downtimes. The station was located on the outskirts of town, surrounded by dense woods. My shift started at 10 p.m. and ended at 6 a.m. The first few nights were uneventful, just the occasional late-night traveler or trucker stopping by. But then, things started to get strange. It was around 2:30 a.m. when a man walked in. He was tall, with a gaunt face and deep-set eyes. He wore a tattered coat and had a peculiar smile. "Evening," he said, his voice raspy. "Good evening," I replied, trying to be polite. He wandered the aisles without picking up anything. After a few minutes, he approached the counter. "Do you have any special items?" he asked. "Special items?" I was confused. He leaned in closer. "You know, the kind that aren't on the shelves." I laughed nervously. "I'm not sure what you mean." He stared at me for a moment, then smiled wider. "Never mind." He left without buying anything. The next night, I was curious and decided to check the surveillance footage from the previous shift. I fast-forwarded to the time the strange man had entered, but there was no one. I rewound and played it again. The door opened, but no one walked in. The aisles remained empty, and yet I clearly remembered our conversation. I felt a chill run down my spine. Over the next few nights, the man returned. Each time he asked for special items, and each time I told him we didn't have any. He never bought anything, just left after our brief exchanges. I stopped checking the footage. I didn't want to see nothing where I knew someone had been. On my last night at the gas station, he came in again, but this time he wasn't alone. Behind him were several figures, all with the same gaunt faces and tattered coats. They stood silently, their eyes fixed on me. "We've come for the special item," he said. "I told you, we don't have anything like that," I replied, my voice trembling. He leaned in, his face inches from mine. "But you do. You just don't know it yet." Suddenly, the lights flickered and the power went out. In the darkness, I felt cold hands grab me. I woke up in the hospital. They told me I was found unconscious behind the counter, the gas station ransacked. Nothing was stolen, but the place was in disarray. I quit that job and moved back home. I still don't know who that man was or what he wanted, but sometimes late at night, I see figures standing outside my window, watching, waiting,